Teaching children how to read can be quite challenging and time-consuming, especially if you're an immigrant and you have to teach your child how to read German. And I get asked very often by mothers how I taught my children how to read. The first stage in teaching your child how to read is identifying alphabets. So what I do is that when the child is about 2 years old, I buy 2 cardboard sheets. And on one of these cardboard sheets, I write the alphabets from A to Z. The alphabet with the small alphabet, capital and small letter. A, small a, B, small b. A to Z, I write that on one sheet. Then on the second cardboard sheet, I write the Laute, the Selbstlaute, what in German, what are called the Königsbuchstaben too. I'll get to that later. I also write those special alphabets or combinations of alphabets, like you can see up there. The drier letters, sh, because it's pronounced together. Tss, f, tss. Those combination of alphabets or so, I write that on the second cardboard, which could be a smaller cardboard. And I paste these 2 cardboards side by side in a room where the child is frequently inside. So even if it's the living room or the kitchen or in the room, I'll place it where I think my child spends the most time with me. And try to hang this cardboard on the same level as your child, so that your child is really looking at it. Even if you haven't started making use of the cardboard, your child is looking at the cardboard, is recognizing the alphabets are becoming familiar. I use this method because I think that when something is handwritten, it's never perfect like a printed one. And that's easier for a child to memorize in a picture. And most of the charts you buy that are like pre-printed or so, they have either just the big alphabets or the small alphabet. But I think that's double work. It's better when the child sees the capital alphabet and the small alphabet together, when there's not too much pictures around it or colors and distractions. So I make the chart myself, I maybe use like 2-3 colors. Now what is very important is that under each alphabet, pick a word that comes from your child's vocabulary. It's something your child likes, like for P, Polizei. If your child likes police, you write under the P, Polizei. So when you are teaching the child, you keep saying P for Polizei, F for Fahrrad, M for Mama. So just have that word written in small in pencil under the alphabet. So you keep always calling the alphabet with that same word, so that the child will kind of like memorize it. Now, on the cardboard with the alphabets, the vowels A, I, E, O, U. In German, they are called the Selbstlaute, because they are pronounced the way they are. A, B, B, it's like B, B. But the vowels, they are pronounced the way they are. A, E, O, U. All other alphabets are called Mitlaute because they are combined with a vowel when you hear them, like But actually, when you read it, it's F. But when you read it, it's F. So now, vowels that are called the Königsbuchstaben. Put a crown on top of them. You can draw a little crown over the A, I, E, O, U, because they form part of the Königsbuchstaben and they are essential in learning how to read. So prepare your 2 cardboards first. The first stage in learning how to read is identifying the alphabets. So now what I do is I've hung these cardboards on the wall somewhere on the same level as the child. And I always start with the vowels because there's no word without a vowel in it. So if you know these 5 alphabets, A, E, O, U, with just one other alphabet, you can start learning how to read. So start with the A, E, O, U. The Selbstlaute. They are called Selbstlaute because the way they are is the way they are pronounced. A is pronounced A. E, O, U. Then you start teaching the child the other alphabets, which are all Mitlaute. Mitlaute because the way they sound is not the way they are read. But it's when you are reading it. It's not ha, it's h. If you teach your child ha, when he's reading hinter, he will say ha inter. So teach the child h, not ha. F, it's f. Leave the air. You see, most the other alphabets, the Mitlaute, they are always pronounced like together with a vowel. But when reading them, you read them just that sound that is pronounced when you read it. Not M, F, Z, H. Teach the child those sounds. In fact, here in Germany, the children don't actually learn the alphabets A, B, C, D, E, F, G till the 2nd class, where they now have to know the what comes before A comes before B, B comes before C. Because if you teach A, B, C, D, you are confusing the child. It makes it harder for the child to read. So really focus on these alphabets, the way they are pronounced. And the way I do it is I turn it into a game. I have my long wooden spoon, the one I use for turning my fufu. I'll just give the child and say, oh, point at 0. We could be standing at the other end of the room. The child will, point at O. O for orange. Then the child will run, knock on the O with the wooden spoon, come back to me. Go and show me P for Polizei. The child will run, knock on the P, come back to me. And somewhere along the line, if that gets boring, I will develop like a game. If you knock on the right alphabet, then you can knock on this spot that is turned over, pum, 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 come to me. If they are older children, join them in a game because children like challenges. In fact, sometimes I'll even tell the older ones, pretend you don't know it so that he will now go and knock on it. So with like a game, you can teach your child to identify the alphabets in a fun-like way. And don't start with too many alphabets. Some children can just memorize just one when you start the first day. Others 4 or 5. So start with the ones the child can, make sure the child can really remember them, point at them, easily knows where they are. Then keep introducing a few more alphabets every day. That's the first stage of reading, identifying alphabets and the right way of pronouncing them. Then the second stage of learning how to read for me is combining a vowel, a Selbstlaut with a Mitlaut from this A, E, I, O, U, combining them with the other alphabets. Like you would take T, Ta, Te, Ti, To, Tu, Fa, Fe, Fi, Fo, Fu, Z, Za, Ze, Zi, Zo, Zu. Teach your child how to combine two alphabets and how to join them. You know, just say like, oh, it's like a car driving. Faster. Then the child will know how to do it. Fi, fu, I, fu, I, fu, fi, fi. You know, teach your child how to do that swing. Fi, 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 o, fo. The child will pick it very fast. That's the second stage, combining these vowels with just one alphabet. Fa, fi, fo, ta, ti, to. And from there, you can now move to an easier stage with more alphabets, like, but make it simple, like tutu. Pa, pi, pa, po, pa, pa. Like that. Join, you know, just two on this basis of two alphabets. Pa, pi, a Selbstlaut and a Mitlaut, a vowel and any other alphabet. Ta, 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 to, ro, ze. Join different ones. Ro, ze, fa, fi. The words don't have to make sense, but joining them like that in set of twos, it helps the child, and the child starts having, you know, psychologically, it's reading longer words. Fa, fi, fo. And always, you know, make a space between the set of alphabets. Fa, fe, fu. That's the second stage. The third stage is now actually reading. I mean, longer words. This is now where your second cardboard would be slowly introduced to your child. Königsbuchstaben. It's so important because in German, to read, one actually reads in Silben. A word is divided into Silben, and you can actually clap this Silben. Every Silbe has a vowel in it. So you can actually clap this Silben. Now, a lot of adults, they don't even understand, how do you clap a Silbe? In a word like ba-na-ne. Ba-na-ne. You can see ba-na-ne. 3 Silben. Each Silbe must have a Königsbuchstabe. Auto. You see? One Königsbuchstabe here, there. Mouse is 1 Silbe. Just 1 Königsbuchstabe. In this case, you can see it. They combined Au, Königsbuchstabe. But Mäuse, there are 2 Königsbuchstaben. So it's 2 Silben. Mäuse. In fact, even as your child is at the stage of just learning alphabets, or somewhere along the line, you can start teaching your child how to clap Silben. Clapping Silben can be like a fun thing. You know, even if you are talking, let's clap papa, pa, pa. Clap Schule, Schule. Clap Kindergarten, Kindergarten. So the child learns how to separate this word in Silben. And that's also how they learn to read. In fact, before, in the school for special needs children, the reading books were divided initially into colors for every syllable: red, blue, red, so that the child can identify it. And now it's even in most normal reading books for children. So before you get to this stage of reading, actually reading words, already be teaching your children how to clap in syllables as a game, and then they will have a feel for it when they are reading. At this stage, you should have bought yourself a reading book. Reading books is not so easy, because often you see books meant for children of 5 or 6, but they just swing in full force. The words are quite difficult to read. This actually introducing from easy to longer words, harder words. You find it maybe in a reading book for first class, children in the first class. And I would even advise you get the reading book for the children, the first class, in a special needs school. You can buy all these things online, because there they take a bit more time moving from easier texts to more difficult ones. So at this stage, all you need is a reading book from a school. And even then, make sentences on your own. Write sentences that are quite easy. Maybe most of the words in the sentences are easy for the child to read them. One word is a bit harder, so that the child doesn't get so frustrated, because the more success you have, the more confidence you get. So you can write very easy sentence like vo base to do best da. Easy sentences, and that way you'd introduce your child to reading. So keep practicing this thing, and don't be worried if your child cannot read perfectly before they start school. Actually, when they get to school, they learn how to read. But once the child can identify quite a few alphabets and has this technique of joining 2 alphabets together and then joining more alphabets, when they come into primary school and they are being taught to read, they'll catch it very fast and be able to learn how to read. Now, finally, before I conclude, I would just like to say this. Some mothers have told me, no, it's not important to teach my child how to read, because they learn that in the primary school. When they get into primary school, they will be bored. And I just want to assure you, I've put, and I'm still putting 11 children through this system, and I haven't had any child that was bored in primary school, apart from maybe the first few weeks. And now in the primary schools, there's a lot of differential learning. So some children, even reading books are differential, that as from the second class, the text is written easy, harder, and more hard. So they now categorize your child. Oh, this child can only read the very easy text. You can read the difficult text. And of course, you know what happens to a child that is constantly being given the easier one to read. Then, of course, the reading skills will not develop as fast as the child that is reading the more difficult text. So please, start teaching your children to read before they get into primary school. If your child hasn't learned the basics, believe you me, most children, they have problem learning how to read later. They don't keep up the tempo. Especially, remember, it's coming to the school with some children that are already reading, and the teacher will follow the tempo of the class. So please take out the time. It's not 1 hour a day. It's not even, it could just be 10-15 minutes a day. And you would have your child reading within a few weeks, at least identifying alphabets and reading very easy words. Thank you for taking your time to watch this video.